setting up your rules and regulations that you enforce, and then how to go about and manage that cycle. I want to bring up a spreadsheet that one of my clients did, and which was helpful if they had set this up for each one of their properties beforehand, so they knew what the policy was for that association, so they could set it up according to their governing documents. So on this one, when they first went out, they said they had this letter, and they called it FRE 07, so it was friendly letter, and they had 7 letters to comply. So their process was send the letter, and then what if they complied, what would happen? Well, then they sent out a thank you note, and then they closed it. If they didn't comply, then it went over to a violation letter, and that violation letter then, which was called VIO 07. Now, you guys can name your letters anything you want. I'm just showing you what they did, but how this was kind of helpful in the whole process. So after that 7 days, they would send out this letter. If they complied, once again, they closed. If they didn't, then they needed to go and send out a third letter. And this third letter was a cease and desist letter, and they had 15 days from the time they mailed this letter to comply. So if they did, then of course they closed. If they didn't comply, then it went to a hearing. And then the hearing was sent. If they took corrective measures, then it closed. If they didn't, then they levied fines, penalties. So knowing how you want that flow to go will help you when you go to set this up. Okay, so we're going to start first with the setup. We're going to go into, actually, I'm going to start with reports and go to merge letter editor. So you know that you're going to use certain letters. So this is the way you'll want to set up your letters. You'll come in here to the letter template editor. You're going to open, and then you're going to go to the file folder here that is for compliance. Now, when you open up your folder, you're going to see a couple letters. You're not going to see all the ones that I currently have in here. What I suggest, so you'll have ones called, I'm just going to grab, okay, here's a compliance letter with logos, and then it has a merge code for a picture. So I'm going to grab that one. Okay, so this one right here, the address for this is in the wrong spot, so that's why I got the errors. I'm just going to open a different one up for the moment, and but it's the kind of the same thing. Excuse me, I had a cough. Okay, so let's see if this one's better. Okay, this right here, I'm not going to see the VMS if I use it. I do not know why it put in both of those. Okay. Of course, you're going to want to format this. I'm not sure who did this letter. I'm sorry. I guess I should have looked at it. Okay, so if you have a Word document, you can open the Word document and you can cut and paste your information. What we suggest you do is come right up here and you would say copy. You'd give it a new name. So I can say, if this was going to, I could say friendly, like I had on that thing. I'm going to say friendly reminder. And then I don't need the word compliance, I already know it's going to be in there. And I could say picture. Okay. Friendly reminder with picture. Okay, so that's my letter. Now, just like when we were talking about the other letters, if you don't want, like this will have the resident name and address, the unit address, dear owner. If I want to put in other information like make it more personalized with a first and last name, you come up to the ribbon and you look for the filter. You do a drop down and you would then go and look for the merge code you would need. So right here I could say resident contact first name, space, and then I'll do my merge and then I'll put my resident last name. Now, of course, I have a lot of other icky things in here, so I'll clean that up. Okay. Now, if there's something that you want to remove from this template letter, if it doesn't have a bracket, all you need to do is to highlight, backspace, or hit delete. If it's in a bracket, you do have to right-click and then delete it. Okay, and that's the only way to remove one of those. So you can open up your Word document. You can cut and paste. You know, then like here, this one is going to say the company chapter reference, which will be, I'm going to show you where all this information goes. The compliance violation is, you know, the description of, you know, what they needed to do. And then, of course, it has some other wording in here. Now, the first letter that you're going to see in your thing actually has a few more merge codes. And if you need help designing your letters, if you have any questions, just let me know and I will help you. But the easiest way, like I said, is to use an existing letter, cut and paste a letter that you use, and then the areas that you might put, you know, the name of the association, the violation, the description from the CC&Rs or bylaws or whatever document you're enforcing. All of that can be merged in. So you'll want to go in and, like I said, create letters. Now, this one has a merge code that you can add for the picture. Now, this one says, and we have two. One's called merge last picture, and the other one is merge first picture. So later on, when I show you how to add the pictures, if I was to choose the first picture, then it's always going to show me the very first picture I attached to the violation. If I say last, it'll do on the task area, you know, as you kind of continue to add to it. If you add a second picture or a third because you took another picture and they didn't quite comply and you want to point out, yeah, you trimmed the trees, but you forgot to remove the dead bushes, and then you're sending a new picture, it's going to always pick the last one. Okay, so that's with the last picture. And I think probably that would be most people's choice, but, you know, I don't know. So once you create all your different letters, and I'll just save this. I'm going to get out. Okay, now we're going to go set up the property. So I have my letters. I'm all ready to go. I'm going to go to Setup. I'm going to go to Property Setup. Any questions about the letters before I move on? Okay. So when you go into your property, there's a tab here called Compliance. So I can go right there. There's 3 tabs under it: Information, Governing, and Sequence. So the Governing is where you have a place where you can put the information as far as the recorded document numbers. You know, it doesn't, there's not a merge code to put into your letter, but if someone says, hey, you know, I want to go pull those documents or whatever, you can tell them, you know, the recording numbers and things like that. So some people use it, some people don't. But this one is important for you, this one, distribution. So always print is the main default, so it will always just print the letter. Now, you can also choose email and print. So if the homeowner's name is, an email address is listed in the property address, in the property setup, in account maintenance, it will email them and it will print a hard copy. Or you can say email, but or otherwise print. So it will then email the people that have an email address. If they don't have an email address, it will print it. So you have 3 options there that you can choose when you create and distribute your letters. Questions about that? Okay. Now, on the bottom, this is for the mobile application. So when you pull it up on your phone or your iPad or your notepad and you're out on site, you can tell it, I want to see the information in 1 column, 2 columns, odd and even numbers, or, you know, so you can select a different viewing. So that's just up to you, and you can say what order you want it. I can say, I want to see it by street number. You can say, and then by street name. And so you can go in there and put in some, defaults, so to speak. Okay? Now, we're going to go to governing. When you first look, it's going to look like this. So we have reference. So in our first letter that we looked at, it said violation or compliance reference. So this would be what are you enforcing? Is it trash? Is it lawn maintenance? And however you put it here is the way it's going to look in your letter, because it is a merge code. So if I wanted to say lawn maintenance, now the next one is a document source. So there's a merge code for that. So you can say you're in violation, per this document, so it's bylaws, CC&Rs, or whatever it is, a resolution. Now the rule would be the verbiage. Now I have people who set it up all different ways. So if I went and looked at, I'm going to show you one that's already set up, so I'm going to have to type it again. Here. So I have trash, CC&Rs, and then I have a description in the document. So this one says trash, and if you have the documents that you can cut and paste, that's great. But warning, if sometimes people will go to a PDF and they will do something like they capture the data, like it's a JPEG or something, and they paste it in there, that won't work. So it has to be something where you can convert a PDF into an editable document so that you can cut and paste and bring it in. But if you can do that, it saves you a lot of time. So on here, this one was a little fancy, as Article 7, Section 7, and then it goes in and it puts the verbiage from the document they're enforcing. Now, here you can see I have all different ones. I have architectural changes, building events, holiday decorations, whatever you need to enforce. What I suggest to people when they first start is go and grab, a bunch of letters that you've already sent out. So, and kind of start there when you're setting this up. So if the majority of them is because of trash or lawn, or if you know that you're going to be doing your big annual inspection where you're going to check for power washing needs and things like that, start there. And then just continually add on. Because what you want to do, and I notice accounting, when they're using VMS, they have no choice. They've got to go in and set everything up, and everything kind of has to work together. But a lot of managers feel like, oh, I do it my own way and I'm okay. But you want them to see how much time and how the software will help them manage this workload. And it gives you the ability to produce reports showing how much they've done, how many letters are sent out, how many, so on and so forth. So you really want to get them to start using the tool. So if you start out with, a few things that they're doing immediately, I have found through history that's usually the best approach. Now you'll notice that there are some boxes over here. So the first one says forced, and this one's checked. What forced means is it will allow me, when I'm either on the mobile app or I'm in the office and I'm using compliance, instead of having to type out the violations, so that's why I said grab those letters, the verbiage that you write all the time. Please remember, trash must be stored out of the common area with the exception of scheduled trash days. So instead of me having to type that for every single letter, I can, if this is checked, click on an area within the compliance, and I'll see the list of these three options to pick. Trash cans were left on after street, cans must be stored aside on non-trash days. Whatever you want, you just add it. So there's a note type. Now the types are important for the fact that they filter data. So you can get reports and say, hey, I want to see all of X. And so if I wanted to see all trash cans. So you put whatever type it is. If you have a need that isn't here on the drop-down, you would go to Program Defaults, and you're going to go back to that Code tab. And when you go to the Code tab, it'll be in just a second. So Codes, do the drop-down, and it will be Compliance Types. And there you go. So you can go ahead, which is kind of funny because I see trash was misspelled on one of them. So, oh, maybe. I don't know what they were trying to put. Anyway, so that's where you can edit them for your own use or needs. Okay, back to property setup. Okay, so trash cans, and then whatever. So remember, this part of the note is going to be to help you so you don't have to type in that information. So, you know, you put whatever you need to put there. All right? Now, when we go to do the violations, you can pick more than one. So, and you can edit the column. So if you wanted to say trash cans were left on the street after trash pickup or must be out of sight on non-trash days, if you needed to put something at the end of the letter, you know, also leaving mattresses on the or other furniture is not allowed. You can add that when you're doing the violation. So this is just a tool to help you curtail some extra work. Okay. So as you can see, I have I have all different kinds of notes that just allow me to bring that information in. Now, unit compliance right here, this column. So remember, anytime you see a checkbox, if you check it, you're saying yes. So all violations stay with the unit address. What happens is when you have a buyer, when something sells, if Mr. Brown is selling and he has an open violation, if this is not checked, it just closes the violation. So it's closed, and that way you won't be sending more letters to Mr. Brown. If you want the violation to stay open and not closed, you check this box. So if it were something like an architectural modification change or something that was structural that you want the new owner to continue, or you're requiring them to correct, and you want it to stay open, then you check the box. Any questions on that? Okay. Some associations, when they issue fines or penalties for noncompliance, have a set fee, like $10, $15, $100, whatever it is. Some base it on the violation. So if you have an association that is not a set fee, that everybody gets $50, whatever the fine is, but it is by the rule, under the fine area, you want to put how much the fine would be. Okay, so if they don't comply with, lawn maintenance, non-compliance, $50, you put it there, because, you're going to do trash at 10. So if it's different based on the violation, you put those days here. The days here, really, we don't use that anymore, but because we're going to set that up in our sequence of letters, so you don't need to worry about that. And like everything else in VMS, if you put information in and it is linked to an owner's account, you cannot delete it. So if you had a violation that is outdated, you're no longer used, you can just check it right here and make it inactive. But because it's part of the history, it does need to stay in the program. So right here would make it inactive. Then when they were using VMS, they wouldn't see it. Okay. Any questions about setting up the rules that you want to enforce? Seem pretty easy, straightforward?
Yep. Sorry, I do have a question.
Okay, Sarah.
Under the document source, I'm sorry, I missed the first part of this this area. I was having computer issues. Is that a drop-down, or do they have to type that in?
You would type it in. So if you're enforcing a bylaw or a resolution, CCNRs, that's just it. You know, you're referencing what document you're enforcing.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, now we're going to go to the fun stuff. So I'm just going to start with Treasure Crow because they don't have anything. When you first go in, you're going to see this. 4 items. Do not make them inactive. Do not delete them. These are all used independent of each other within a compliance. You are going to want to make notes. You may put them in the holes. You may issue a fine, and you definitely are going to have change of ownerships. So these are activities that need to be not deleted so that when you go to, you know, issue a fine, make a note, it's there. But what we want to do is set up our sequence of events and letters according to this association's needs. So the first column right here, here's the header, is name. We don't care what you call it. Sometimes people will come down here and they're going to select the first letter they're going to use. So if I went and grabbed my friendly reminder, okay, so I did that letter while I still had this open, so I'm just going to have to grab another one. Okay, so let's go with, here we go. Okay, so some people name it the name of the letter, you know, compliance, resident friendly. That's fine with me. You can name it whatever you want, just knowing that, like, if I put on here first letter instead, the first letter it's going to render will be the one I selected here on my drop down. So if you don't see the letter that you just created, like I don't see the one I just did, the reason I don't see it is because I created a letter but I had property setup open, so I need to close property setup and then I can come back in and it will be refreshed and I will see my letter. Okay? So if I come back in here and I go to Treasure Crows, and I go to compliance and sequence, because sequence is the sequence of letters, and I come down here, my friendly letter will be there then. There it is. Okay? So, like I said, whatever you want to name it here is fine with me. Now, separate, letter type has separate and it has group. This is used, and we recommend it to be separate, but this is what it's used for. If you have a homeowner and you're sending them a violation on trash and for landscaping, let's say, do you want to send out a separate letter for each, or do you want to group the 2 violations into one letter? If you want to group them, you must pick a letter in here that has the word group in it, okay? Because the programming or logic is built into the report to grab 2 different issues that you opened up. So if any of you have that issue, if you don't have a letter that says group, let me know and I'll get you one. And then you can use that to create more letters. But like we said, we recommend separate because if they comply to one and they don't comply to the other, and you want to close the first issue, you really can't without closing the second. They're kind of now linked together. Okay, so that's why we say separate. Now, days. This cell is if they don't comply with this first letter, how many days? So in my chart, I had 7, remember? So I want it to be 7 days later. So if I was to send this out today, the next letter would be due on the 21st. It's a sequence. I'm doing a sequence of letters. Do I need the letter to go certified? It's not on this first one, so I'm not going to check that box. And it's not inactive, so I'm not going to check that box. The median location is used as a merge code when I go to issue a hearing letter, so I don't need it here. And fine definition, there's not a fine associated with this letter, so I'm going to say no fine. Then I'll go to my next letter. So I can say second letter, or name it whatever I want. Okay. And then once again in sequence, if they don't comply to this one, according to my flow chart, 7 days. And then it's going to go into that cease and desist. Okay, so I'm going to do the cease and desist letter. And after that, if they don't comply, 14 days. Now, the cease and desist letter, I want to send certified. So what it's going to do, it's going to queue this one up so I can create a certified label. Okay? So that's what the benefit of that is. I can just print these labels. I like how that desist got spelled. The next would be my hearing letter, my hearing notice. And then you would come down here and you would pick the hearing letter. You can tell I test out a lot of letters here, apparently. And I'm trying to find the one I always use. Clients. How are you? Hold on. Let's make it easy. We'll go to one I've already set up. Okay. So on here, here's the hiring one. Here's the compliance hearing letter. So on here, I said after 20 days, then I'll give my result. Now, this is when I'll be using this second row right here. This is where I will put where they meet. So I have the clubhouse, the address, upstairs conference room. And then I have the hearing result letter. After that, I have hearing. Now, just like the forced issues on the governing, if I expand this, I can put different resolutions that might be used. I can say they have, elected to fine, they were elected to hire a contractor, they elected to, take away all your privileges, whatever, you would like to say in the letter. And then when we're in the process, we can do it, we can select the one we want, edit, and make any changes, okay? So I have my first letter right here, and I'm going to go right there, grab that one. And then so on and so forth. Sorry. Makes sense? Does everybody understand? So the days here is if they don't comply, how many days do you want? It's not going to give you a pop-up, but I'm going to show you how you'll know that the next letter is due. And so 15 days, then in the second one, on this one it's 10, this one it's 20, and then this one goes to hearing. Okay? Any questions on that?
No.
Okay. Okay, now I did something. I went a little bit further. I made a thank you letter, so I could say thank you. And then I told the system, once I render this thank you or close, you can call it whatever you want, I want you to close the sequence so that it'll automatically close it for you so you don't have to do it manually. Okay? I have a letter here that I called fine letter. Now you can say, give it a fine. And your choices when you render this letter can be the fine amount, which would be a blanket amount, so it was $50 for everybody, I put 50. Or you could say it's the rule, so it would go back and look at the governing and look at how much you put here for the rule. So, or you can say both, the rule plus the fine amount. So I'd look at that, and then if I put $10 here, it would take whatever I put there plus $10, and that's how much the fine would be. Okay? Now, some people choose, because they might only send one, letter, but they're going to fine, I don't know if you guys do this, but what they'll do is they'll say a fine, and they get reminded every week if they still haven't complied to issue another fine. So they don't want a letter to go out every week. It's just going to be a recurring thing. So they'll make a fine letter and say no fine here, but then they come up to where the fine, this one is, and they're going to say how much the fine is. And then they can say, I want to be reminded every 7 days, if I don't close it, that I'm supposed to do another fine. Okay? Make sense? So this is like right here where it says this action excludes the sequence, but it is going to, if I fine someone, it'll fine them the amount, and then every 7 days it'll say the next one's due until you close it. Now, the posting code it's going to use when you fine is found on your AR posting code area. So right here on AR posting codes on information, it says when you use that selection in compliance to find what posting code do I want you to use. It's going to use whatever you put here. So you'd want to make sure you set up the fine code. So here's my fine. I have a debit and a credit, and then I put it here. If for some reason I had late fee here, when I hit fine, it's going to post a late fee. Okay? So just whatever you call the code that you use when you assess a violation, fine, or non-compliance, whatever you like, whatever your company calls it, that goes here. All right. So that's it for the setting up. Any questions before we move on to using it? Okay. So we're going to go back to the switchboard. We're going to go to entry. And I'm going to start out here in compliance. So there's the compliance icon. We'll select our property. Now, for this first one, I'm hoping that we added people into twin codes. Oh, but I didn't do any rules, did I? Well, then we won't use twin codes. Let's use, okay. This is a property that's already set up. One of the things you're going to notice is they're all yellow. Yellow means it's past due to escalate it to the next sequence. So this one was due July, March. You can tell it's a test date. So that is the way you'll know. If you come in and they are white, so I'm going to change this for tomorrow. They're white. Where are you? Then you know that they're not due yet. Okay, and for the moment, I'm just going to delete these. So there are a few things that you can do. So if I was going to do enforce a rule that was just for one person, I would probably start here on the maintenance tab. So we have maintenance, MAD, and iExpert. So you come down and you pick the rule that you want to enforce, landscaping. If I check the forced, I will have the descriptions of things I want to do. So upon inspection, it was noted that your lawn is needing mowing. Please make these corrective measures. That sounds good. Now, I might want to add something to it. So upon inspection, notes needed mowing, and your flower beds okay. Now, the unit, there's a drop down, and I can go in and pick the address that I'm going to cite. It will come in and put the user that logged in. So if I came here, reported by inspection. If it's a tenant issue, you can check right there. I'm not going to close it. Inspected by who? Okay. Now, next process, it's going to do that automatically for you. There's no last letter. Now, when it says next sequence, it's going to start with the first letter. So if you don't want it to start with the first letter, if you do the drop down, whatever you named things when you did that, you could pick the first letter yourself. So if you had someone, I know that sometimes you have something you want to send out a stronger letter because maybe they're storing gasoline somewhere or something they shouldn't be doing, and so you don't want to start with that sweet little letter. You want to be a little sterner. Then grab that letter. You can always override it. Now on this one, it has a picture, so I might want to add a picture to go in my letter. So I'm going to expand this, and this is the task area. So you can go in, and you can drop it and drag it from your file. However, I need to do the ... because it's not in a spot. There we go. Right there it is. Where I can grab it, drop and drag it easily. So I'm just going to go right here. Just a second. Okay. So here's a mowing letter. Okay, there we go. So I added my picture. Now, I want to edit the letter, mostly because I want you to see it. If I don't check edit there for the letter, it will just send it straight to the printer. Okay? Then I'm going to say here post. So I would probably never do one at a time like this, but I'm going to do one simply, and then we'll add on to this. Okay, so here's my property. Here's the picture, the date, and so it brought in all the verbiage for my letter. Okay? You can edit the letter here. So if you wanted to make changes to the letter, you can do it here. Once you were done, you would go over to File, and then you would say Print, and then you close the letter. Francis Weber. Okay. Okay. So now it shows me the day I printed it. I mean, the last process was that letter. It shows me the next one is due on the 29th. If I expand it, right here is my letter. I can use, under the view area, there's a magnifying glass. If I click on that, it'll bring it up as a PDF. So if I had made any changes to the letter, those changes would be on my PDF. So you always have the original copy. Now, if the homeowner has an email address and has elected to receive emails when issues are added to their account, they could then log into their account and look at the letter before they even got it. If they were sent by an email, on the Note tab, it would show you the email was sent and another copy of the letter. So everything you do will be documented within the homeowner's account. So if I come here and I go to Ashburn Farms and we go to Weber's account, okay, so I'm going to go to her compliance tab, and there we go, there's her letter. Now you'll notice there's a blue one right here. The blue one is closed. So I can see repeat, if you have a repeat offenders. If you don't want to see closed issues, you just unclick that, and then you'll only see issues that are open. Okay, but that would be a closed issue. Now, if you need to make notes, if they call, you just expand it. You come down here and you make any notes. If you're going to extend time because they gave, you come in here, and when it says next process date, you just change it, to how many days or how long you want to. So that way and probably because you want to come down here and say why you're extending it, because you're going to be able to run reports showing all the notes, what's going on, or if you have a board member and you've given them permissions, they can look at the, what's going on with those compliance issues. Now, another place, instead of going, and I kind of like this, and so I showed you the other one because some people like to do compliance here because it's not distracting. It's very easy. You see your 3 tabs, your property. But I kind of like going here in unit maintenance. If you go to unit maintenance and you go to property and you pick your property, if you come down here, you'll see compliance, second tab, and there's my issue. Now, the reason I kind of like this one is because I can just drop and drag, and I don't have to do it because I can see the name and the address. So it makes that process pretty nice, a lot simpler for me to put information in there. Okay, so right here, then I would select the rule and so on and so forth. Now, if you have, and who does it, right? You went on your inspection, and if you're not using the mobile device, you came back with a pad and paper and all the people, what you found on your inspections. Is that usually what happens?
That's what's happening currently, but we would like to be more mobile out in the field.
Okay, so let's say you haven't yet or gotten to everybody has a handheld that they can use in the field. So they come back from their inspection, they got their notepad. So instead of doing this one at a time, I have 5 people I need to say mow your grass. So I'm going to go to Mass Add here. I'm going to pick the rule. So it'll be lawn landscaping. Then I'll do my drop down and I'll pick, mow your lawn. So you can see this isn't the same one I just had. The other one was so much more eloquent. The inspection date, inspected by Goofy Dog. That's nice. Okay, I'll come here. Who needs to be included? Okay, Kowalski. Or I can go and hit this one, hit my control button, grab the ones that need to be included, and drag them over. Come on. Oh, you know why it won't work? This says Ashford and this says Woodley. It says, it's going to work. Let's fix that, okay? Okay, so this one, control, Fraser, George, how's that look? Okay, so that, drop them in. Works so much better, huh? Okay, once you do that, then you're going to hit post right there. All that does is it adds them, okay, to the maintenance tab. Okay, so now down here are all the people I just added. Now they're going to start with letter 1 unless you change it, so the first sequence. If you need to add pictures, you expand this and drop and drag the pictures in. And so the pictures go right there. You either go like this, you grab the picture, and you attach it, and then you go from there. Okay? You can edit this. So I can say, mow your lawn and remove dead shrubs. Okay. So I could edit, once I've done it. So like I said, however you want to work it. I'm going to also go like this time so you can see the letters, and then I just say post. So when you need to do a mass amount, instead of having to do them one at a time, you can just drop and drag. And that's why I kind of like going here. Now, here's my 3 letters. So I have them right there. If I go to the window, you can see the different names, and then you can go through and edit them. In fact, I only put picture in one, so there's the picture. And then you'd once again say print all when you're done, once you're edited, or you can edit one and print one at a time and close it. It's up to you. And there you go. If my logo was smaller, this wouldn't be so wide. So when you choose your logos, be sure that you have it formatted to the correct size that you want for your letterhead. Okay. Does that process seem simple enough? So the maintenance tab, you can add one at a time. The mass add, you can add more than one, and then make any changes that you want to change. Once again, I like the idea of going through account maintenance because I can do, oops, no, that's not what I intended to do, because I can do the draw, I can just, drag them right over. So I think it's convenient that way. Now,
I have a question.
go right ahead.
If we were to integrate with a third-party company, where would we click print in order to send those off to them? So like a South Data or...
Oh, okay, so you know the part where if you saw, there's a couple places in the sequence. Okay, so I'm in account maintenance, but in the sequence area of property setup, there was one box for e-distribute, and that would create and send a file, create the letter and put it to a file within the export folder so that you could send them to, well, actually you can do an integration so it just goes right up and sends it to them. But until you're integrated or whatever, then you can put it in a file and then just send them the file. If we're working and we forget to do that, right here, e-distribute.
So that doesn't mean that they're being emailed. That just means that they're creating a file?
It's creating a file to go to a third party who will send them out. Okay, the email part is on the setup that we did in property setup on that first page where it says email. And then, so if I was sending one out to a resident and they had an email address, so let's grab, I probably have one set up for mine, because I usually do. Okay, so if I said email, if I look here, and I have an email address, when I send out a compliance letter, it will send me an email with the attachment of the letter. Now, when you're up and running on the web, even if, well, they have to have an email address, but even if you don't say email it to them, they would get a notification if this is checked right here that you have added something to their account and they could log into their account and look. Okay? Yeah, so if you don't say email the letter, they will at least get a notification. And right now this one doesn't have one, so we'll send them one so that you can see. So I'll go in. We'll go in and grab Kowalski. We'll throw her in there. Okay. We'll give a rule. So let's tell her to remove her Halloween Day decorations from last year. Okay, so you can see I didn't put a text there. It doesn't do me much good, so I'm going to have to type something. Please remove Christmas lights from? Going to Portugal. Okay. And then, okay. So I don't need to do anything else. It's going to be my first thing. I'll go in, and I am not going to edit the letter. I'm just going to post because, so what that will do, by not editing the letter first, it's just going to send it straight to the printer, or if I had said email, it will do that. So if I go to this account, okay, so property, holiday declaration 609 sibling. Sorry, I have the right one? Yeah. So did it make a letter? It did. Okay. I just got an email. Oh, here, let me show you this. I got an email because remember I said it would send me an email. So here, dear resident, attaches a compliance letter process on your account. Thank you for receiving this notification. So this was the email that was there telling me there's my attachment. So I must have set this up to email the letter directly. Now, there we go. There's my letter. Okay?
Okay.
Alrighty. Now, go ahead.
My other question is, like I see you have tenant issue on that. Does that mean that it'll go to the tenant and the property owner?
Yes. It'll create a letter for the resident and the tenant record. So if on file, remember, you would have a contact record for on all, and then you would also have a contact record for tenant. So it would then go ahead and create a letter for the tenant and for the homeowner. And it's going to send it to the, the mailing address that you have listed here for both.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Okay. Okay. Now, like I said, if the homeowner, if that one nailed it, but if they didn't, they would get notification. They could log into their account, and once they logged in their account, hold on. There we go. I set up a new tenant, didn't give him a password, so I was trying to log in for him and said, no password. So I had to go back to me. So I'm going down here. This one was set up so they could see compliance. There's the holiday decorations. They could go in and they could pull up the letter, and they can even reply. So they could come reply and say, and send. Okay, who's going to get the email? The manager will get one, but it will all depend on, remember when I told you that when you set up a property, you have to, so you're going to go to property, and I'm going to just show you. I can't change anything here. So if the correspondence here says all, these three people here are all going to get that email that homeowner sent in, okay? If it said correspondence manager and the response was for the manager, then just the manager is going to get it, okay? So if you're at all, you're getting all emails, or you're going to get like right here, she's only going to get ones that are directed to specialists, okay? And remember, for compliance letters to print, there must be an employee who is marked as manager and the leader, okay? So I got an email that she responded. If I go to her note tab, here's the note. right there. I will. They responded to it. Okay, and I had also put it right there. So the response went to the violation itself, showing the note. Okay, here's the notification that went out from the queue that says, okay, we sent the note, there's the response, and it's part of the violation. And in addition to that, it was on her note tab. All right, so you have a lot of documentation of what you're doing.
Excuse me, is there a limited amount of space for notes if staff wants to put notes in?
You know what? I have seen long, long notes. The field for the report can grow, is the parameter on it. I don't know if any character limitation, but I will ask. I have never seen anyone exceed it, so, but yeah, I mean, I have seen long notes. If they send you an email about it, you drop and drag the email in here or on their note tab. So anything about it, you just continually add your notes. Now, like I said, if you add another picture, because for whatever reason, and your merge code is last, the last picture that you enter here will be the one that it puts in the letter, okay? Now, if you want, okay, so now I have these other issues that are due, right? So you can do several different things. If they comply, you can come up here and you can say close, and that will close it. And it will turn it blue. And if you don't have this checked, it'll go away. You won't see those issues. Or you can go in and you can say next sequence, and then based on your sequence of events that you set up, it's going to go to the next one. Or I did one that said close, and that would just basically, when I say process, it'll just close them. And I had to do that through setup to do that. Or what happens if you have a whole bunch, okay? You know, I don't want to have to sit there for Arbor-Gate, because Arbor-Gate is Michael's property and always has a zillion. Okay. So I've heard Michael say, while this is bringing up his property, that like certain things in, like he says you can have unlimited contacts. And he says, well, there is a limit, it's like 50 billion or something like that. But so I think the same thing, he says you can put unlimited information, but I'll double check that, okay? So now, if you go to a property and you see ones that are red, that means that you've been setting fines. So you can see the last person, they said, you know, they had posted a fine, and so go down there and show you. So red are accounts for ones that are currently under fine. Let's say you go through here and you've closed all the ones that need to be closed, but now what you want to do is you want to go in and you want to, all the ones that need to be, you need to put them on the next sequence. So what you can do is you can say, well, go to all the ones that are on hearing, okay? I can just see those. And then I can go to what we call mass change. So mass change is this little icon here, right next to the merge. Do you all see that? In between the plus sign and the merge is this mass change. So if I bring that up, I can say, go to the next sequence. If I do that, regardless of what sequence it's currently on, it's going to go, you know, so if it's on hearing here, it'll go to the next one, whatever my setup is. Or I can specify one if I wanted to. So I'll say next sequence, and I'll say save. Now, all the ones that were on hearing are now on next sequence. So first I use, this is my merge to select the ones I want, and then I can post the next set of letters. Now, or I can do something, so I could come in here and just say a certain rule. If I only want to see trash, I can do that, and it'll just show me the trash issues. If I want to be even more specific and say, I can use the merge tool here. So I can go, right now the default is a close date doesn't exist, so open issues. And I could say aging, how something's X old, or I can say attention notice, or any of these, inspection date, any kind of information I want to sort my data from, and then I can do my map change. It makes it a lot easier. Oh, what did I put here for my thing? Oh, aging equals to nothing. Well, that doesn't help, does it? Okay. Okay. So if I wanted these two, I could, say, whatever kind of information as far as changing. If you only had two, you'll do this. Now, I want to show you a couple things. If I had my second notice, and my next one was going to be the hearing notice. So if I do the hearing notice, see where it says next action in this right here? Do you all see that? Well, that's the cell here. What you want to do on a hearing notice is going to put in the letter the day and time of the hearing. So if I was sending out a hearing notice, I would probably give them 2 weeks notice, and so I'm going to stick the 28th, and then you can put the time here, and you can just put 7 o'clock, or I'm going to be lazy and put 1900, so it'll just do it for me. Once I do that, if I go to render the letter, there we go. With my letter, so on this one, you can see it had CC&R, so it brought in the document source, it brought in the rules, it brought in the wording that I put, and this is the merge code. This is the action date right here, the date and time. And then remember on setup, I put in, when I did my hearing notice, where those hearings would be, so it merged that in. So those are all the different, fields. So the hearing letter does have a place to tell when the date and time is, so that's where you put it to have it go into your letter, okay? Now, you've had your hearing, and you're going to do the hearing results. And if you have your mobile device and you're in the meeting, you can do this while you're sitting in the meeting. Let's say I'm going to do my hearing results, and then you can come back the next day and print them. So hearing results, okay? So I'm going to come in here under the next action date. I'm going to put in, because it's going to say when the hearing was. So I'll say it was that date, it was at 7 o'clock. Okay? Now, here's the hearing result letter. I'm going to hit this ... You see that right there, guys? I'm going to click it. These are those things that I had put in under on my setup. So I could say, going to finding the amount of $10, and now once it's up here, all I did was click that and hit up there. I could edit it. So maybe they're going to hit, this one is going to be $50 per week until this matter is, okay? Now, if I forgot the action date right here, I can put it there. So I'll say save, and now we'll render that letter. Now, in my setup for this, I didn't, that letter isn't associated with a fine, so it's not going to fine it. But I'm going to render the first fine as soon as the letter finishes, so you can see it. So here it is. So it tells it, for your hearing, and then it puts the board elected to finding the amount of $50. Now, let's do a find. If I hit find and I post, remember the address, 613, okay, post, it's going to turn it red because I associated with the find. So where is the find? Unless I told it to close it. Okay, what was 614? Oh, hold on, let's do this. Oh, it closed it. Okay, so make sure you know what you're doing if you're not, so you don't close something. Okay, so 613 right there. We'll go to that property address. Resident 613. Okay, can you see that right there? Fine. And it tells you where it came from, landscaping. You see it right there? So in my setup, I had made it $100, even though in my letter I said 50. So make sure that you know what the setup is, so that you don't do a food like that. Okay. Does that process seem easy enough? Anything I need to repeat, go back, show again? Now, if I go to compliance under tab, it will show their issues. So you can, just manage it, update notes or whatever you need to do there. Okay? Now, are you ready for me to go on to the mobile part? Okay. So if you're hosted, to find out what your email or your web address is for your clients would be to go to your setup and go to program control. And then you would go to web and you'll see, here's mine right there. Okay? Now, if you're not, it's going to be however your IT person sets you up. So to use the mobile, and you need to have all your website set up, or your website. Now, for this to work for the mobile, there are certain things you have to have in place. And I just want to remind you, in your account maintenance, you need to go to the property and make sure that you have a manager group, okay? So if you don't have a manager's group, and then you need to make sure that you have an employee, the manager, linked to that property. So if you go to property and you select your property, so here's Woodley, which is the one I'm going to use, I would go to groups and I want to make sure that I have a group called manager. You also want to make sure that on your employee tab, there's someone that is linked as the manager, okay? Now, I noticed when I did a drop down, my name wasn't there, so I need to make sure it is so that when I wasn't made inactive, hold on a minute, because I won't be able to log in. Okay, there we go. That's all I need to know. Hired, okay. There we go. So the address to use a mobile device. So if you have a handheld device that is connected to the internet, all you need is to go to the internet, You do not have to have VMS on your software. You're going to put in that web address, and at the end of it, you're going to type in this. Can you all see this? /mobile, MOBILE, /M as in Mary, _ admin, ADMIN.ASPX. So if you're not writing it down, go ahead and be sure to write it down. So it's whatever your web address is for your websites, mobile /M_admin.ASPX. So when I go there, then you're going to log in with your user and password that you use for VMS. So I'm going to put Kowalski and my password, and I'm going to log in. I'm going to select the property that I want to work in. So here's Woodley. Now, I can go by different communities if I wanted to. I'm just going to, okay. And I'm going to say I want it compliance, and I want to use a map, so I have that checked. So I'm going to click here. And then here is my map. Okay. Now I can even change my map to say satellite, so it shows the actual property. So there's Google Maps, and there's my property. When I look at my map, anybody who is green does not have a compliance. Anybody red has an open issue. If I only want to see units with compliances, I can check that, and now it's just going to show me those. Okay. Now, I can click on, so you're out and about, you can, go and look at who you want. Now, see this says group right here? If I go down, I can see that I have some names in here. Those names come from if you go to unit maintenance, if you go to account maintenance, and then we're going to go to unit maintenance under here. There it is. Okay. There's an area here that says inspection. You see that? Second row, fifth column, inspection. And I have May right here. May. See that? That is the group. So when I log on to the mobile, it's a group. Can you think of any reason that might be helpful?
Well, my question just would be, when would you actually have created that?
Well, you're going to have to put it in, sometimes, okay, as far as I know, and if you wanted to bring it in with VMS import, we'd have to ask for that field to be added because it's currently not there. So you'd have to add it at some time manually. You would come down here. Now, the people that I know that use this have associations to where they have set inspection times for certain areas in that property. So they'll go in and say, okay, these streets we do on the first week of the month, the second week, third month. And when they go and use the mobile, they don't want to see any units show up on their map that they're not inspecting that day. So they'll come in here, and you can cut and paste. I mean, I can highlight this, Control-C, and then I can come down to the unit, and I can go Control-V, to all the ones in the neighborhood if I wanted to. Okay? So that is, and we don't care what you call it. I mean, the one management company that I know uses it a lot, they go in and take the plot map and they color it. And so they have red, blue, yellow, and pink or something like that, and that's what they call it as their inspection. But that's what this group is. So this is exactly the names that I called it on unit maintenance. So if it's different for each property, it'll be different there, okay? Now, so I can look through that. I can hit search and look for a specific unit if I wanted to, you know, or I can just say, okay, you're driving along and say, okay, well, it's this one. If I click on that, if I look over here, come on over, I can see holiday decorations, and I can also see any architectural items that are open in case I want to add one. So let's say this time it's something different. I'm going to add, instead of, well, let's say the holiday decorations they took care of. So I'll pull that one up. I'll come down here, and there's a column that says close date. So I can come in here and say today, and so it'll close that one. So, and say save. And then I'll go back. Okay. And now, let's say this one, I need to add one. There's no open, I'm going to add. So here I go. So here's the rule. So I'm going to, these will be the list of everything you had there. So landscape maintenance. Now this time, the type is not going to do what we saw when we were in-house. So right now I'm just going to hit landscape maintenance right there. But I do want to use those. I don't have to type it in. So if I come down here where the violation is where I would write it, you can write it from the field if you want. But if I hit this little icon right here, it looks like a piece of paper, I see all the forced. Okay? So then I could add them from there. So it automatically will put in inspection by the person who logged in. It's going to put, so select the sequence. It's going to be the next sequence. I'll go down. Now I want to put a picture. See down here it says manage documents, and I'm doing this all by my phone or my iPad. I can take a picture on my phone and then upload it, or I can go like this, browse. If I've already taken the picture, I can go in there and, you know, I'm going to say bicycles on porch. And upload. Okay, back. Let's change this to bicycles or something else, so it goes with my picture. Okay. And I hit an S, and it goes on down, so I don't have to storage. Okay. And select. Okay, so I did everything. If I want to see, let's say I see something architecturally and I want to know if they submitted an application modification form, I can hit ARC right there, and I can see the history that we have in the system on any, you know, approved or in process of application. So you can do right there, and then you say save. And then you go on to the next one. So I would just go back, or I would go to you know, home, and then you just continue to go through your architecture. This one, because I am there we go. Okay. I wish it could be real time. You could just go like this and zoom down and look at it. You know, I mean, because you can zoom down, but it's going to be whatever Google Map did it at that time. See? Oops, wrong way. Wouldn't that be nice if you could just go look at, oh, yep, they did remove that dead car from the side of the road. It's not there anymore. So, okay. Now, you've gone through, you've done online inspections, you'll sign out, and you come back to the office. Or you call the office and your assistant, and you said, okay, I do all the compliance. Go ahead and render the letters. So they go into either place that they want to go, into compliance or in account maintenance. Go to compliance here. And then you will see the ones we just did. So here was the one today. I have it on next sequence. If I expand, there's the picture I attached. And now all I have to do is say process and print my letters. But, I can do everything. I can close the issues. I can escalate to the next one. Like I said, if you're in a meeting and it's you can log in and you can, put in the hearing result letters right from the meeting. Then you just come in the next day and you process your letters. Any questions? Anything I should go repeat?
Carolyn, are there other different colors that we can use for, like, ARC violations or nothing?
The colors assigned by the system are white if they're not due, yellow if they're due, and red if they're fined, and blue if they're closed. Do you mean like on the maps when you're going out?
Yes, that's what I mean.
Oh, no, but I think you can. Just a second. Do this. Just a second. I was thinking I could, because when you're in the office, you can say you only want to see certain types. So, but here rules, but out here in the field, no. It just is green for not, and then. But as soon as you put your mouse or over the house, it'll tell you, what the issue is. See, storage. Landscaping. But no, there's no color coding component to map that to.
No. What was the blue one, closed or fine?
Red, so here it's just open or closed, okay, green or red. Once you're at the property level and you're looking at compliance, oops, I hit coupon, sorry. Okay, so blue are closed. Red are issues you've done a fine to that are and then yellow are ones that are overdue. So next processed, it'll be yellow. I have to refresh. So those are fines. Once you see how they have fines. Yellow are ones that are due, and then white, they're not due yet.
On the map, the ones that were blue, little houses, what were they?
Actually, they were multi-dwellings. So if you look, it's like commercials, more than one unit kind of thing. Like if I had townhouses, duplex on that lot, because it's going by the lot. So it, on Google Map, it's just a structure. So it's letting you know it's a multi family structure. So if you have a community that's townhouses, they'll probably be blue. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Well, and of course, I just set those up to look like that because for just testing, but, as you can tell on the map, they're just single-family homes. But that's based on my setup. Okay. Anything else? That's it. Any other questions or things I should go over again?
Can you go over the login one more time for us?
I'd be happy to. Okay, so if you're hosted, to get the mobile address, you can look and see under the Setup Program Control. On the web, down here it'll tell you your URL link, and then it's going to be that right there, plus at the end you put a /. So I'll go up here so you can see the drop down. Oops, excuse me. / mobile, MOBILE, and then / M as in mobile, _ admin, ADMIN.ASPX. And then that will take you here, and then it says employee information, and you log in with your user ID and password.
Okay, and that will be our first step.
Right. So if I just was going to log in as an employee, I'd see employee like that. But if I log in here, this is just to see information at the property level. It's not the, it won't let me do the compliance. See, it's just, I can look at things, but I can't do anything else. You know what I mean? So, it wouldn't be where you would do compliance. You'd use the mobile app and use the maps. This is just, basically to see information on your property. If you wanted to log in somewhere other than your office to render a report or to look up some information, regarding something, you can do that. But so to get to the mobile, you do have to put in this additional information, the mobile / M_admin.
Carolyn, is there something else that we are supposed to have done to get that to work? I just tested ours and it doesn't work. Is there something else?
Are you hosted?
Yes.
Okay, so our hosted clients have one thing that Google Maps, to fill in the map, lets us add 2,500 properties a day. So the first, and that's not, once it's loaded, the map, it's yours. You don't have to reload it every time. So what happens is, and that's why Mike always says in training, he doesn't want to use a property he hasn't already set up, because if we have a whole bunch of clients who've gone in and downloaded their maps that day, they might have used up our limit that is set by Google Maps of 2,500 per day. Okay, so chances are they've already been used. So we always tell people just log in really early, so that you can get all your properties loaded if you're hosted. So
I'm not getting a Google Maps error. I'm getting a server error.
Okay, I will do a go-to-meeting with you, and we'll take a look at it right after class. So,
okay.
Or when everybody else logs off, just stay on. Okay.
And Carolyn, is that web page, is that compatible on all browsers? So if we were to give our team like iPads to go out with Safari, would it work with Safari?
I have an iPad, and I've used it on my iPad with no problem. The only problem that I have an older iPad, and so I haven't tried it on a newer one. I mean, I have like the second one that came out. It wouldn't let me load pictures. I had to load them when I got back to the office. But they might have changed or allowed that now, but some of the first ones wouldn't let us. It was a restriction from Apple that we couldn't load the pictures. So hopefully they're allowing it now. But that was the only restriction I ever found with an iPad.
And if we are hosting this on our own server, is there anything else we need to do in order to gain access to that?
Well, you don't have the restrictions. You know, you're going to have the same restrictions as far as your company, 2,500 to download your maps. But there's information in the setup with IT for your web interface, so they'll need to read that. I'm not a hardware person, so I don't know.
Okay, so if we test it out and we're having issues, we should have our tech team contact your support team?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, so everyone but Dean. Dean, are you at your place where I can make you present, or do you need to get to your office and log in?
I'm at my office, yeah. We can do that.
Okay. So I will. So tomorrow we're going to go back to accounting and we're going to do delinquency control. So we're going to be learning how to set up the sequence, setting up the sequence and letters for delinquency and using that process. So we're back on accounting issues tomorrow. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Also, please keep in mind that coming up is going to be setting up your web your folders for your financials. So you need to kind of start looking at the example reports and deciding what financial reports you want in your web groups or your report groups, so that after the class you can go in while it's all fresh in your mind and start setting those up. Because if you can't produce a report that you want, it doesn't matter how well you have everything set up, right? So we want to, make sure that you're able to render the reports you're going to need. So look through those examples and decide, because we have a lot to choose from. Okay? Okay, guys, I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, Dean, if you want to wait till everybody gets off before you show your screen. Okay, it's just you and I. Go ahead. Okay, so go to your, right there. Okay, so now you are missing, okay, just a second. Wow, I can hardly see this. Zoom to 75%. Okay, so what we want to do, so I don't think the HTTP, oh, yeah, it will matter. Okay, let's make sure you have some other things in place. So I don't have control. If you would right-click over my name under the attendee section and say give keyboard and mouse control. Okay. Is it all right if I take control?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's bring up your scale to fit. Let's bring up.
I'll bring it over, I think, for you. It's on the other screen.
Okay. So entry, account maintenance. So what property are you trying to do this for?
I didn't choose any particular. I just wanted to try and get in.
Well, you know what you have to have. Remember, I said you can't do it if you don't have certain things in place.
I do have that for my test templates.
For who?
For the template property.
Okay, so manager, template property. Which one?
Master template.
Okay, you don't need to have it for that because you don't put in homeowners in it. Okay, so on this property here, do you have homeowners in it?
No, I don't think.
Yeah, Yes, you do. Okay, good. Okay, and this here, if this is mine, these aren't real addresses, so nothing's going to come up for that. But okay, I do know that I think 18790 is actually an address right there. Okay, now we got that. Then, excuse me, setup, property setup.
On my other screen.
Oh, will you pull it over? Thank you. Okay. Test property. Okay. Web. Okay. And
So for each property, we need to go and add it in there onto the web?
yeah, there's certain things that you should, but, okay, I don't think that really matters on this. Okay, so HOA, community, and make sure that one. Okay, good. All right, now so you have, I'm going to have to zoom this so I can see. Okay, so HTTP, I think it's S, Brink Management, go. VMS, client online, server application, system, mobile, okay, mobile. Okay, add that to your favorites. So, do you know login as your employee ID. Did you add it to your favorites?
Yeah, I wouldn't be using it from my computer, so
just so you have, so that way just so that you have the address is all I thought,
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead and log in with it, whatever your, no. You don't log into VMS on your workstation with that number, do you?
Into VMS,
it's employee login.
Logs in automatically, but I'll check what it is. Hold on.
So under the employee security.
I'm checking my app. I've got an app for what my logins are.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have it there. Where's
so
that?
Employee information. And then your name. So, okay. So you have to have a user ID and password to use the mobile. So if you can come, so if you want to make it something here. Okay. And then get out of VMS altogether once so I know that it, Okay, so then, yeah. Okay, then do the drop down, and you should see the test, okay? And then say compliance. And like I said, it's not a real address. I mean, you're going to have one. There it is.
Okay.
And then,
so now those steps you took, we're going to have to do that on each, we'll have to remember to do that on each property, or?
do what?
Whatever it is that you did to make it start working.
Oh, well, okay, yeah, you have to have a group. And so you have to have the group manager. You have to make sure that you that is logging in or linked to the property somehow for each property, yeah.
Okay. All right, thanks. We'll play around with that.
Okay. All righty. Yeah, you can go into your unit maintenance and put a whole bunch of addresses locally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can see, yeah. So on the test property, just change them out of Leesburg and put in ones that for your area.
Yeah,
okay?
right. Okay. Yep, sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks for your help.
You're welcome. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
And I think one of the reasons you didn't have the login